I'm now joined by Dr. Calum Miller, medical doctor and ethicist. Calum, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's interesting what Emily's just said there, and it's made me wonder, as we are today discussing the fact that should the abortion termination limits come down from 24 weeks to 22 weeks, perhaps instead we should be looking at the causes of abortion. Why is it a situation today that a quarter of all pregnancies are being terminated?
Yeah, well, can I first echo, if I can call them, your complaints about the impact and the ways that men are involved in leading to an abortion, whether through pressuring women, whether through being with women and then not wanting to take responsibility. You know, we know it takes two to tango. And one of the reasons I think abortion has become common is because men are not willing to take that responsibility and thinking that it should all be put on the woman. And I think we've got into that situation where we now see, years later, the ways in which abortion has actually facilitated male exploitation of women. And another example is the amendment that's been put forward today on sex-selective abortion. We know around the world there are nearly 2 million sex-selective abortions every year, which eliminates almost entirely baby girls. And we know this is one of the most powerful tools the patriarchy has around the world to eliminate the voice and the presence and the visibility of women. And so I know we're probably sick of hearing about how we should follow the science over the last 2 years, but actually I think that's what these amendments do. They take something that is a controversial topic, but then takes things we can all agree on. Things like abortion beyond viability, and there are a couple of thousand of those each year in the UK. Sex-selective abortion, we know that occurs. Disability-selective abortion at any point up until birth. I think these are all things we can all agree on that shouldn't be allowed, because they undermine the place of women in society, they undermine the place of disabled people in society, and ultimately they're inhumane to a viable baby. And so I think this is a great opportunity for people who are on both sides of the debate to come together and agree on at least some common scientific, humane amendments that can at least moderate what has now become a very extreme law 50 years later.
Why do you think it's an extreme law today?
Well, so for example, you can have an abortion for any reason, in effect, up until 24 weeks, when just a week ago it was announced viability is now down to 21 weeks. The most premature baby in the world was born about a year ago, and it's just been announced, and that was 21 weeks. After 21 weeks, there are about 2,000 abortions in the UK still every year, the majority of which are still for the same reasons as earlier abortions. They're not for those extreme situations, even though some of them obviously are. When it comes to abortion beyond 24 weeks, that can be done for any disability or even a chance of a disability. So if you have a significant chance of having Down syndrome or even cleft palate or club foot, abortion is possible at any point up until birth. Now, this involves a procedure technically known as feticide, which the clue is in the name. It involves the ending of a life. And this has been described in academic journals by providers who have done feticide. In their own words, they describe it as stabbing the baby in the heart. They say it's brutal and horrific, and they say that they became sick out in the corridors after doing it. And so, again, you don't have to have everyone in agreement on the fundamental question of abortion, and I expect we won't have that for a very long time, if ever. But these are common sense, compassionate measures that I think everyone can agree on, because I think most people, when they find out the reality of abortion in 2021 in the UK, they do realise that it is extreme and radical, and they do think that we need some more regulations.
And do you think that there is perhaps, when it comes to women choosing early on in a pregnancy, that they don't want to become a mother for whatever reason, whatever it is private to them, that this should be a conversation between both parents, or is it a woman's choice to make that decision alone? Because fundamentally she is the person, she will be the body compromised, the person going through all of the burdens of pregnancy and childbirth, and frankly she'll be the person ultimately left to bring up the child if the man decides he's not interested.
Well, absolutely. I think we have to have women at the forefront of this debate, and we should be making sure that we don't exclude women's voices, and that we should be having their experiences shared and their opinions shared very much, and we should never be trying to get rid of that or trying to talk over them. But at the same time, I think, you know, all pregnancies involve a man and a woman. And by excluding men from the debate, you're also, in a sense, excluding them from their responsibility. Once you make unwanted pregnancy a women's issue only, what you're doing is you're saying to all the men, if you get a woman pregnant when neither of you or you, the man, are not prepared to be a father, then that's not really any of your business anymore, and you can go away and leave her on her own. And I think what we found is that many women feel that they've been abandoned by this mentality of saying, pregnancy and unwanted pregnancy are only a women's issue. Men shouldn't be involved. And actually, I think it enables men to have that mentality where they can avoid that responsibility. So I think it's vitally important that they're included at the same time.
And thank you as a man for coming in and talking to us today. You've had really interesting viewpoints.
Thank you.
Appreciated.